Today, we have a heated topic. This topic arises from me sharing on my Instagram that you should start using heat plates instead of a heat lamp. There's a lot of people who see the benefit of the heat plates and a lot of people who do not want to give up their heat lamps. But I want to give you some compelling reasons on why I believe that in most situations the heat plate is the better option than the heat lamp. Well, let's get my brooder set up and then we'll talk about the whole thing. Maybe there's something you can learn from this or not, but this is how we set up our chickens. You can do it again. Quick side note about the water. I have had guineas, little guinea fowl, when I raise them this way. I've had a guinea go underneath the waterer and another one go underneath the feeder. And they don't get out, you don't know that they're there, and it's not until you go and change the water or the feeder that you end up seeing them. So with this garage tile solution, they can't push themselves underneath here in order to get stuck and die. So this has been a really big help for me, is having these garage tiles. I have these because when they're running around inside of their little chamber setup that you have and they drink out of their water, they're getting all of that wood chips or whatever your bedding is inside of their water, and it absorbs the water super quickly. And you have to change it so much and it gets so dirty and their poop gets everywhere. So with this, the grate, if they run on top of it, everything goes under. They're not bringing very many of those wood chips over here. And I created a cavity underneath so buildup doesn't happen very quickly and the water sits right on top of it. It keeps the water stable and sturdy so that it doesn't tip over, especially because they're not very stable when you have your water on top of the wood chip. This is very niche, and I'm assuming a lot of people don't have this. This is our method that my wife came up with. Genius idea. If you don't have something like this, you could put cardboard down, water on top of that, and then little rocks inside of it because it'll keep them from standing in there, hopefully bringing less wood chips into the feeders so that it doesn't make them as messy. And now for the reason why you guys all clicked on this video. I do hope that that little nugget helped somebody out there put their water in a better position so it's not just sitting on the wood chips. It's way more helpful this way. Now here's how these two methods work. The typical heating lamp, this is a red one, it gives off a red glow. It heats up just like any other filament light bulb. There's a filament on the inside which can burn out or does burn out, and it gets warm enough to cast down heat, and with the red on the outside, it'll give a red glow. Some people do red glow because it can distract the chicks from attacking each other if there's blood, because if they see blood, they'll peck at each other. I've never had an issue with birds pecking at each other because of blood, but I'm sure this does make sense that it would work that way. This just happens to be red. I didn't buy it for any reason. With the heat plate, the electricity comes in here, goes through a transformer that's heat regulated, and then there's another rod that heats up on the inside of here that only gets so hot. And then that heats up this plate. There's no filament or anything like a light bulb, so there's no chance of this burning out when you're not paying attention. Because there's no filament or anything, it's a lot more reliable. This could go out at any time, you don't know. And it could be a really cold night and everything could die. Heat lamps are more dangerous. They're more dangerous for your chicks and they're more dangerous for the environment that you have them set up in. If you're in your barn, there's a giant increased risk of a barn fire. If you don't know what you're doing with the heat lamps, you can actually burn your chicks. And there's plenty of people out there who have never had chicks before, who don't know the proper temperature, who don't know the height and what to put it at, who don't check the temperature often enough. There are many different things a seasoned chicken owner could do wrong accidentally, and there's a lot of different reasons why a new chicken owner might not know exactly what to do when it comes to the heat lamps. I know sometimes it could seem pretty easy to just raise and lower a heat lamp and check the temperature underneath, but people have busy lives and they have a lot to do, and if you can minimize one little thing to make your day go easier and better, then that's a plus in my book. Now there are many different ways to lock a heat lamp up so that it is mostly safe. And there are people who have said that they have used them for many years and nothing has happened. Well, I live in a situation where I do use a barn. I have a barn cat, I have dogs. And even though they don't really have access to this area, they still come in here. They still, at some point, they could maybe push open a gate that I accidentally left open for some reason, or a cat can come over and do something, or a dog can sneak in here and knock it over. I'm not in my barn constantly watching over these chicks. There's a lot of different scenarios that I can think of that this heat lamp, no matter how stable I set it, can fall and go into here. One way I've used the heat lamp before is with the C-stand. You get it dangling right here, and you can raise it and lower it. And I feel pretty secure, pretty safe with this, but there's still always something in the back of my mind saying, you know, it could get knocked over. This C-stand, even though I weigh it down, something could happen to it. How'd you get in here? Or putting a plate over this, or chicken wire and letting that sit on top and securing it to the grate or the chicken wire. But then you're in the problem of not being able to manage that heat perfectly. So overall, it's just more dangerous. And in the back of my mind, even though I know it's safe, even though I know I've put it into a position to where I'm pretty confident about it, there's still something in the back of my mind that says, everything could burn down right now. Now, some people care about this and some people don't. Heat plates mimic the way that baby chicks search for heat sources from their mothers. They climb under their mothers and they go under her for their heat. And the way I have it set up right here, you can see the heat plates behind me. The babies run under there for warmth when they need it, and they also run under there for protection and comfort, just like they would from their mom. Now, there isn't any evidence to support whether a heat plate will give them better life overall or better egg production, but there is evidence to support a baby chick will provide more eggs and be happier and healthier if they're raised by their mother hen. A mother hen is almost always the best case. They raise happier and healthier chickens, which then leads to them having a higher egg production most of the time. If there's something I could do to try to lead into that direction to where I'm raising a happier and healthier chick that hopefully can cause it to either have a better egg production or just a better life outside of this little pin, then hopefully that mimicking the mom in some small way can benefit that. An argument that I heard a lot against a heat plate is, oh, my grandparents did it, or I've been doing it for a really long time. Sometimes there's technological advancements that do make things easier and better and more efficient. I think one of the biggest barriers to a heat plate is just the cost. The heat plate that I have right now, it was $50 when I bought it, and it's now gone up to almost $80. I did find some other ones on Amazon that were a little bit cheaper, maybe around $60. So the barrier for entry is pretty high. I do hope that over time they do lower in price. On the other hand, a bulb, which could last a long time. I've seen them last from 6 months to a year, maybe beyond. And a bulb is about, $8 to $20 depending on the quality. Better quality will last you longer. When there's little added cost to a plate over time. Plus a heat lamp uses more electricity and it's less efficient with its use of energy. So that's an extra added cost. So when it comes to the heat plate, although it's a big price tag up front, you won't have to buy any more equipment over time. Now here are some downsides to that plate. This is an older version of the plate. Newer versions have a cone on the top, stopping the birds from jumping up on here. So if you're looking for some, make sure that you get the one with the cone on top, because the birds do jump up here and they poop all over it. And depending on your setup, this gives them an easier access point to jump out of your brooder. Another downside is that you have a smaller surface area for the amount of chickens that you have. So you have to make sure that you have a size dedicated for the amount of chickens that you're going to have. So they have ones that are meant for 10 chickens, ones that are meant for 15 chickens, ones that are meant for 20. So they just get bigger in size. The other thing is that you need to be able to make sure that there's enough space on all sides of the brooder so that when the chicks are small, they don't jam each other into the corner walls and hurt each other. If there's too many birds underneath one of them, the birds that are along an edge can get shoved out and work their way back in. Inside this brooder right now, I have 15 little chicks, and I have a heat plate that's meant for 15, but I put 2 in here just in case if they are getting too crowded under one of them, they have enough room to go under both. A situation where brooding plate, if you don't have enough of them, that is probably not best for you, is if you're raising from 50 or more chickens to where you don't want them to crowd under and crush each other and You want to be able to provide enough surface area and enough heat for a large amount of birds. Unless you can have separate areas with their own dedicated brooding plates, then I think your best option would be a heat lamp. If you're keeping your birds in a drafty area, that's going to push a lot of the heat outside of these brooder plates because they're not as powerful as a heat lamp, then maybe you should get a heat lamp. Outside, frigid temperatures and drafty, it's probably better to do a heat lamp other than a heat plate. Other than those few things, because of safety, because of comfortability for the chicks, and everything else I mentioned, I think the brooding plate is absolutely the way to go. It is the easiest. You just plug it in. It has feet to raise and lower based off the height of your chicks. I've just gone halfway most of the time. The chicks stay warm and I don't have to fiddle with it very much. And I never even have to check the temperature under here. Never. So for all of these reasons, maybe you've never heard of a heat plate, or maybe you've been looking between the differences. Hopefully this helps you and gives you a better understanding of a heat plate, how it works, and why I choose to use a heat plate over a heat lamp. Thanks for watching. I'd love to have a discussion about this in the comments. I've been having it a lot on my Instagram already. And if you found this to be useful, give it a thumbs up. And if you know anyone who has chickens and you think this is going to be useful for them, send it their way too. All right, I hope this was helpful. See ya.